Hello and welcome to a new show I'm doing called What's Up Doc, where we just talk about documentaries and review them. This week I'm going to talk about the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, which follows the professional wrestling superstar's battle with his past demons and trying to get his life back on track to get him to the past glory that he once had. I never really knew anything about Jake the Snake before going into this. It was before my time. I watched more of the wrestling around the Attitude Era of WWE. I did watch, my gateway into wrestling was mid to late 90s WCW wrestling. I remember playing WCW versus NWO World Tour on the 64 for hours with my friends. Rather than go outside, we would just play that. It was great. The first thing about this that I liked was the nostalgia I got from it. Seeing all those old wrestlers again, and some fairly new ones which I am aware of, talk about him and give him kudos. It just filled up it just made me feel good seeing it. I was like, oh my god, look, there's Jericho, there's Goldust. It was just great to see. It was especially helped by the fact I didn't know anything really about Jake, and seeing them praise the man himself made me respect him by the end of it. But we don't stay at this point with it for long, where we look at his past and see all his everything he's achieved. It just more or less jumps to now, where we see him struggling. He's 300 pounds and he can barely get about, and he's got a bit of a drinking problem. It was an unconventional sob story. I liked that about it. It didn't. It wasn't the usual rehabilitation story that I'm used to seeing. It did, focus on what was bad and what had happened to him, which was pretty messed up. I mean, compared to some things you see, it was pretty messed up. But I liked how it didn't stay there for that long on that bad part of his life. It was like, yes, he hit a low. Let's move on. This is now. This story is about him now, and I liked that. It portrayed him really well. He came off as a gentle giant, quite likeable, when he was sober at least. Yeah, he wasn't that nice when he had a drink. But he was overshadowed in this, and the real hero for me in the entire film was Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. I feel quite bad that the film isn't actually called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake by Diamond Dallas Page, because the patience that man has to deal with these people and their problems is unbelievable. He has such a big heart, where he opens his home to all his old colleagues, all his friends. Because that's the thing as well. It's absolutely heartbreaking seeing all these old heroes of mine be so decrepit and useless, or be limp and lifeless and bloated. And when Scott Hall comes in, Scott Hall was without doubt one of my favourite wrestlers in WCW. When he stood there, him and Kevin Nash together were just this brutal force. They were bad guys, but they were anti-heroes. You loved to hate them. I loved them the most. The Outsider's Edge is one of the best wrestling finishing moves ever. And when he comes on the screen, I nearly cried, just because as how low he'd gone, how low he'd sunk, and again probably really through no fault of his own, just battling with demons that he's picked up on the road. The chemistry between them all is really good, especially between DDP and Jake. Some of the actual wrestling matches they have verbally are great and really entertaining to watch, almost as entertaining as watching them in a cage match. They do just bounce off each other when they're just messing about as brothers, or when they're actually shouting at the other one, to sort your life out. Yeah, I really liked it. If I had to be critical about anything during it, I would say that it's a bit repetitive during his rehabilitation. I'm sure there were other moments of his rehabilitation that we weren't seeing, and I don't know why. I'd like to have seen how he reconnected with his family, but instead we don't. One day it just shows, oh, his family's there now. Why? Why'd they disappear? I just would have liked to have seen that happen. I would have liked to have seen more from his past as well. I do feel like I walked away from this movie knowing more actually about Diamond Dallas Page and Scott Hall than Jake the Snake himself. I just don't feel like I said before, they didn't want to stay in this bad era of his life for long. They wanted to talk about the now, but then they didn't stay in the good era of his life for that long either. Nevertheless, I would still recommend it highly. I give it 4 out of 5 docs. If you're into sports documentaries, or if you've ever been a fan of wrestling at any point in your life, I think there's a place in your life to just sit down and watch the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts. I've been JB. See ya.